Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Friday, March 21st, 2014. The first article I have today is from before it's news. The Obamas, I knew they had both lost their law licenses, but I didn't know why until I read this. And there is a scandal attached to both stories. President Barack Obama, former editor of the Harvard Law Review, is no longer a lawyer. He surrendered his license back in 2008 in order to escape charges. He lied on his bar application. Number two, Michelle Obama voluntarily surrendered her law license in 1993 after a federal judge gave her the choice between surrendering her license or standing trial for insurance fraud. Well, congratulations, US of A. These are the people you are supposed to be looking to as your leaders. Of course, mercifully, we know that this is actually the US corporate government, not the true constitutional republic that was originally established and lost a quorum at the time of the Civil War and so was replaced with a corporation. That's small comfort, though, when you understand the whole picture, and hopefully more people will become aware of these kinds of things and be stirred up enough to begin to ask the kinds of questions that will bring about change. From Boiling Frog's post, Processing Distortion with Peter B. Collins, Senate and CIA battle over torture review. And this article states that the line was crossed many times, and the line was crossed and then moved out and then still crossed after that. So I think we're all pretty much aware of this, but I also believe that it's important to stay informed about this issue. From David Icke, fluoride combined with even trace aluminum in water can cause major brain damage. And yet another bit of evidence that it's really crucial for us to filter our water and to be very careful even about what kind of processed foods and beverages we use, because water with fluoride tap water goes into a lot of products that are liquid. So read labels or brew your own from filtered water. From John Rappaport's blog, welcome to Telemedicine spying on you at home. And if you listen to Alex Jones, you heard him talk about this issue yesterday, that certain agencies are putting sensors in rooms like the bathroom that can tell when you have sorry to be indelicate, but flushed. And this is an important issue. If you can stay out of this system, so much the better. Because once you place yourself in this system, what's called the health care system, which is really the perpetuate sickness system, once you put yourself in this system, it's difficult to limit the access that they have to your life. So it's best just keep them out, like vampires, don't invite them in. From Washington's blog, 2014 Gallup International Poll, U.S. #1 threat to world peace. And this was posted on March 21st, which is today. And I want to read this paragraph. The world now demands a maturity of America that we may not be able to achieve. It demands that we admit we have been wrong from the beginning of our adventure in war, that we have been detrimental to the life of the target nations as people. And that is a quote from Martin King in a piece called Beyond Vietnam. Gallup International's poll of 68 countries for 2014 found the U.S. as the greatest threat to peace in the world, voted 3 times more dangerous to world peace than the next country. And we as Americans, overall voted our own nation as the fourth most dangerous to peace. And this is, very significant. People are aware. People understand these issues. And as this quote, the world now demands a maturity of America that we may not be able to achieve. It's really important, and it's up to us in many respects if we can achieve this maturity. And of course, us acknowledging, repenting before God, and also helping other people who are, men of goodwill and women of goodwill, helping them understand the threat that the U.S. has become, so that from the inside we are able to apply pressure and require a change of the government that has been controlling our resources. From Zero Hedge, Putin grateful to China, India for support over Crimea. While the most vocal mouthpieces of the Western world's nations are loudly condemning Vladimir Putin's actions in Crimea, despite Ukraine itself suggesting he can keep it for a price, it appears the rest of the world is less voracious in its condemnation. And one thing for us all to remember, as Alex Jones continues to remind in his radio broadcast, I think something like 98% of Ukraine is now in the hands of NATO and the EU. And it's only this small portion that is coming under Russian protection. And, the mainstream media kicks and screams and points the finger at Russia when the real thieves have been the EU and NATO, and of course behind them, the bankers. And I included this article from Zero Hedge today because it mentions China and India, who are two of the BRICS nations. And there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about BRICS through this, what people call the Ukraine crisis or whatever. And BRICS remains a very significant force in the world. And, one of the great sins of Americans and the West is that we believe that everything relates to us. Well, it doesn't. There are millions and billions of people who are not directly connected to America, the West, the EU. And we have ignored them for a long, long, long time. And in order for us to have world peace and even economic justice for the world, it's crucial that we remember the BRICS nations. And we have, some of us have placed a lot of hope in them and in their ability to bring about change. And my hope is that, I believe they will bring about change. My hope is that they don't leave us as Americans in the dust. And if we're not in the game here and demanding change from the U.S. government, the corporate government, demand that we have our republic restored, we could be left in the dust. I mean, we could be completely cut out of the game. They don't need us. Of course, they'd rather include us, but they don't actually need us. And just because, considering financial issues a little bit, John Rappaport's blog, Is the NSA Manipulating the Stock Market? And I'm going to cut to the chase here in this article. If you're invested in the system, if you have money, even in banks, this is probably not a bad time to begin to ask yourself some hard questions about what is going on and what is likely to happen, how this thing might well unfold. John Rappaport's conclusion, all in all, when you operate the biggest spying and data gathering operation in the world, the opportunities abound. Yes, knowledge is power when the distinctions between legal and illegal are brushed off like a few gnats on a summer day. Again, considering what financial decisions you are going to make, you need to remember who is calling the shots here, who is responsible, and the people who are calling the shots are the people who are getting rich from their own actions. So buyer beware, caveat emptor, as you get involved in the financial system. And another Zero Hedge article here that poses the question, the Federal Reserve, masters of the universe or trapped incompetents. And, read the article if you have a minute, but either way, they're dangerous. Either way, they're trouble. From Tom Hennigan, Explosive Intelligence Briefings, Train Wreck Beckons. And yes, this has to do, again, with the financial system. So again, caveat emptor, person, and not necessarily a buyer, but if you're involved in or with the financial system, beware. Moving into some good news, and I have more than one since it's Friday, and while I'm on the subject, hope that you have a great weekend this weekend. Protester crashes live BBC broadcast to warn of pedophile rings. And this reminds me of the guy who broke into the Super Bowl interview. It's great to warn people. Yeah, a lot of people might think these guys are crazy, but it just sparks enough interest so that people will begin to look into the issues and ask some of the hard questions and acknowledge more of what is going on. And that has to be positive. From firedoglake.com, coalition files lawsuit against Idaho Ag-Gag law that targets journalism, whistleblowing, and speech. And you may remember that there was a law passed in Idaho some time ago that whistleblowers are limited in what they are permitted to expose. And this is a protest against that law. So best wishes to these protesters and to the state to change that. From RT Ruptly, Spain, hundreds march to Madrid to protest austerity. And more people expressing their opinions. And hopefully, the more people who are being ripped off by the financial system will begin to rise up like this. And these people in Spain, and hopefully countries like Spain, Italy, and ideally all the rest of us will travel the same path that Iceland has traveled in gaining their financial independence from the banks. Here's some good news from Breitbart. Delaware Supreme Court throws out gun ban. So that's great news. And a companion article from Infowars.com. Connecticut State Police no door-to-door gun confiscations. So that is a sigh of relief for a lot of people, I'm sure. Following a backlash by several Second Amendment groups, the new head of the Connecticut State Police has promised that there will be no door-to-door gun confiscations targeting residents who have refused to register their firearms with authorities. So congratulations, Connecticut. Some of you are off the hook for the time being anyway. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.